Good day. Thank you for joining us for today's news. If you find this helpful, please consider subscribing. We're here every day with calm, clear updates just for you.
In a move that's shaking up the education sector, New Zealand's Secondary Teachers Union has turned down a pay offer it says is one of the lowest ever. The deal on the table would give teachers a 1% raise each year for 3 years, totaling just 3%. That's way below the 14.5% in the 10% average they accessed back. The new offer doesn't even include lump sum payments, which were part of previous deals. The Public Service Commissioner, Sir Brian Roche, called the offer fair and affordable, but the union president, Chris Abercrombie, said teachers deserve more. He pointed out that the sector is going through huge changes and needs a qualified workforce. Education Minister Erica Stanford was surprised the offer wasn't put to members, calling it a reasonable proposal, but the union remains firm, signaling a possible escalation in the dispute. As talks continue, the outcome could shape the future of education in New Zealand.
Michelle Montague is making history as the first New Zealand woman to sign with the UFC. The 31-year-old from Matamata has long been a Stenchai athlete competing in rugby wrestling and now mixed martial arts. Her journey has taken her from the Commonwealth Games to the global stage of the UFC, where she now trains under the Gator. For the 6-0 professional record, Montague is preparing to drop a division to bantamweight, aiming to take on the toughest challenges in the sport. Her upcoming fight against Brazil's Luana Carolina is highly anticipated, though the match is yet to be officially Kailab, but also an inspiration for aspiring athletes. As the UFC world watches, Michelle Montague is ready to prove that her skills and determination are more than enough to make her mark in the sport.
A serial sex offender in New Zealand, Luca Fairgray, has had his prison sentence cut after appealing the original 4.5-year term. The Court of Appeal ruled that the initial sentence was too harsh, reducing it to 4 years. Fairgray was found guilty of 3 charges of sexual conduct with a 13-year-old girl. His defense argued that the sentencing was inconsistent with similar cases where offenders received shorter terms. The prosecution, however, highlighted the victim's vulnerability, including her Alzheimer's and ADHD diagnoses, and argued that Fairgray's actions were deliberate, but noted that there was no significant poor AD. This case continues to raise important questions about sentencing for sexual offenses involving minors and the need for consistency in the justice system.
A life coach has been arrested at Auckland International Airport for allegedly smuggling 20 kilograms of methapalm hidden inside tea bags. The 36-year-old man, a foreign national, arrived from Bali and was charged with importing a Class A coupled drug in Sosham Arb. This is the 3rd drug interception at the airport in under a week following the arrest of a real estate broker who allegedly smuggled 4 kilograms of cocaine. With increasing efforts by law enforcement and customs, the fight against drug trafficking remains a top priority in New Zealand.
In a world increasingly focused on sustainability and food security, a Singapore-based agribusiness is turning to New Zealand for inspiration. Ray Po, founder of Artisan Green, is at the forefront of this movement, leveraging advanced technology to produce pesticide-free leafy greens in one of the world's most densely populated countries. Established in 2018, Artisan Green combines stacked growing systems, precision automation, and plant science to deliver pesticide-free leafy greens. Po, who previously worked in the casino industry in Macau, returned to Singapore, became a meaningful and sustainable challenge. His journey into version through path. Now, Artisan Green is Singapore's leading producer of baby spinach and other leafy greens and herbs. The company recently secured a new 2-hectare site in Singapore's designated agriculture, marking a significant science area. This expansion is expected to increase production from 1 ton per month to 30 tons initially, with the second phase aiming for 90 tons per month. Po believes this will help Artisan Green make locally grown produce more competitive by lowering prices and reducing rewards. Our aim is to price Bisimpart, Kaditans, People support us even though we're more expensive than imports because we're local. And our customers, especially younger families, want to avoid exposing their children to pesticides. In partnership with Siemens, Artisan Green has digitized its crop recipes, encapsulating entire growing cycles into precise water, nutrient lighting, and temperature profiles. This innovation allows consistent yields without the need for a large team of plant scientists. Poe likens the process to a McDonald's franchise where operators can run the business without needing to be chefs. As all the R&D is centralized, during a recent visit to New Zealand, Foundation's ASEA and young business leaders, he saw for by how New Zealand's nectar. Agriculture is in New Zealand's blood, he says. It's not just individual farmers doing their own thing. You can see how industry and government work together to advance the sector. Poe highlights the need for Singapore to develop its downstream operations, such as packhouses, marketing, and distribution networks. He also emphasizes the importance of science in producing high-value crops that can compete in the global market, even in challenging environments like Singapore's tropical climate. A lot of people think AI or automation is going to revolutionize agriculture, Poe says. But you can't eat software, so you need to know your basics in plant science first. As both nations look to the future, Poe sees a shared mission to innovate and ensure food security through science and technology. If the future of food is global, then the best ideas will likely grow in both places, he concludes.
New Zealand is uniquely positioned to capitalize on the evolving dynamics of China's economy, which presents exciting opportunities for exporters. With a growing middle class and a rapidly aging population, the potential for growth in key sectors, such as agribusiness, is immense.
A tragic house fire in New Plymouth has left one person dead and a child in hospital with severe burns. The blaze, which broke out just before 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, quickly escalated into a full-blown inferno. Emergency services arrived on the scene, but the fire was so intense that it lit up the entire street and caused. A neighbor recounted the horror of discovering the fire, describing the screams of a young boy who had been injured and was searching for his uncle, who never returned from the house. The child was in shock, with burns to his hands and trouble remembering his name. The fire was so severe that it was unclear at first whether all residents had escaped, prompting a rapid rescue. Firefighters worked through the night to contain the blaze, and the site was eventually handed over to police as the community grapples with the tragedy. Questions remain about how such a fire could have escalated so quickly and what steps can be taken to prevent future incidents.
In the early hours of Thursday, a devastating house fire in New Plymouth claimed a life and left a child in the hospital with severe burns. The blaze, which broke out on Oranga Street just before 11 p.m. on Wednesday, lit up the street and left neighbors in disbelief. Emergence of Ray, a neighbor described hearing strange sounds followed by the horrifying screams of a child who had survived the fire but was in shock. The boy's uncle, who had gone back into the house for his car keys, was found dead. The fire, which engulfed the entire house, left the community reeled. Firefighters and police worked through the night to contain the blaze and investigate the cause as the sun rose. The neighborhood was left to grapple with the loss and the lingering questions about what led to this tragic incident.
A New Zealand family has spent 4 years tangled in a bureaucratic nightmare over their immigration status. Robbie Lanos and his Dutch wife, Natja van Osh, were caught in a web of errors that left them facing a deportation threat and a visa that supposedly lasted until the year 9999. The couple had planned to settle in the Chathams with their 3 children, but a clerical mistake in their visa process caused chaos. They were never informed of a 12-month deadline to enter New Zealand, and an email attachment was missing, leading to confusion and threats of deportation. Immigration New Zealand has since corrected the error, but the expedition. Robbie described the process as an absolute nightmare, and the couple now hopes for greater transparency from immigration authorities. Their story raises important questions about the reliability system, especially for those wanting to build a life in remote communities like the Chathams.
In the quiet suburb of Parklands in Christchurch, a shocking event unfolded late Wednesday evening. Emergency services were called to Lamorna Road just before 8 p.m. after a person was critically injured Now, a suspect is in custody of what happened. Residents can expect to see officers in the area overnight, as authorities emphasize. There's no threat to the wider community. The investigation is ongoing. This event highlights the importance of community vigilance and the role of emergency services in times of crisis.
That's all for today's news. We appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this update, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us keep going.